continuing on here, we talked movies, we talked TV, we talked video games. Can't forget about music here, so we're going to talk about that for a little bit. And I'm going to preface this ahead of time. We probably don't have anywhere near as much to talk about for this one, so it'll be a little bit shorter. But that's because really, you're only dealing with essentially one part of it. And music videos are part of it, but I mean, that kind of plays into TV a little bit. But it's mostly just the audio stuff, and there's not much you can do. You can edit it, or you can't. Or, different parts that you could say, you can say, you can't say, what you used to be able to, I mean, you look back in what music used to be, and it was all like, I know this sweet gal, and we're gonna, go steady. And then now there's like, I don't even know what the hell the lyrics are now, but there's just, I was listening to the song Birthday Sex earlier, and it's, that's an older song. It's not even a new one. So I guess the first topic to bring up, are we in a time period where lyrics are kind of pushing the boundaries too much?
Well, I think especially with pop female singers, I feel like they need to do it. They need to be edgy and sometimes break away from their younger image, especially like those people that come from Disney and all of that. Like, they need to make like dirty songs and be all about sex, and they think somehow that validates them
Miley
as
Cyrus
performers. Yeah, like Lady Gaga as well, even though she didn't come from Disney, like her songs are all about sex. And
like, I'm grown up now, I can talk about something other than,
I guess, yeah.
Well, you're asking if boundaries are being pushed or whatever. I think boundaries should be pushed. I think that's part of art. I think there should be art that makes people uncomfortable. I think, as adults, we should be able to consume things that maybe are offensive to some people. Just because somebody is offended by somebody doesn't mean that nobody in the world should be able to partake. There's certain, either whether it's sexually explicit lyrics or racial lyrics or however it's offensive, violent lyrics. I think, like with movies and TV and video games, there's a time and a place for it. It's not for children. We're going to get into how, the parental advisory label program and all that stuff in a second. But as far as adults being able to consume that, I think that should be totally fine. And if it makes some people feel uncomfortable, well, they have their right not to purchase those kind of things.
Or to change the radio station.
Exactly.
Now, immediately I think of when we were talking about dealing with kids and stuff, something that was kind of recent and that made me crack up. And I didn't have this note in advance, but as soon as you said it, it popped in my mind. That Meghan Trainor song, All About the Bass. First off, let me get this out of the way. That song is controversial because a lot of people don't understand the meaning behind it, and people want to bitch about everything.
It's because she's fat.
Yeah, there's two sides of the coin. There's the people that are... Actually, there's three sides of the coin. There's people that are upset that song exists because why is she saying that skinny people are bad? And she really isn't.
Right.
Then there's people that are upset because it's like, well, why is she saying that being big is good? Which, it's health concerns and stuff like that you can argue, but when it comes to image things, you're never going to win that argument. But then there's the group of people that, thankfully, there is a third group of people that are like, oh, this song's kind of catchy. And that's it. And that's all that fucking matters. But I find it really weird that there are like, what do they call them, like Kidz Bop or something like that? Where the ones that are like kind of redone and like a karaoke kind of version, the real cheap version of it that they promote for kids. That's a song that they put on there.
Really?
And there's no way that should be a song that's on there. I mean, if you would have to change the lyrics like Weird Al versions to do something like that. But funny enough, I was just hanging out with a bunch of people one day, and they were scrolling through the internet, and they came across this thing, and they were like, listen to this and tell me what you think that they're saying. And it was the kids' version of it. And the lyrics are, I mean, if the real version of it, you can't have that with the kids and just be like, okay, well, I'm bringing booty back and stuff like that. They changed it to, I'm bringing it all back, but they sung it in a weird way that it sounds like they're saying, I'm bringing anal back.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And I was sitting there listening to this, and I didn't even, I mean, it was a loud environment, a lot of noise and shit, so I couldn't really hear it that much on their cell phone and stuff. I'm like, is this a parody of All About That Bass where they're talking about bringing anal back? And they're like, no, this is the kids' version. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking shitting me.
Oh, man.
There's probably kids singing this Kidz Bop version of Meghan Trainor's song and going, I'm bringing anal back. And it's like, that is by far worse than you could ever say in the goddamn song.
Well, it reminds me, going back to when we were talking about movies when they edit them for TV, certain things just don't try to make it safe for everybody. Certain things should be only for adults. It takes the heart of it out of it. And while I'm not particularly a fan of that specific song, I think if you're changing it that much, you basically destroyed what it originally was. I'm not offended by it or the lyrics. I just think it's kind of dumb. It's catchy, but it's kind of a dumb song.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is.
Damn bloody it is.
By far, it's a dumb song. The video's kind of funny because there's this like huge Hawaiian guy dancing and stuff, but
Doesn't he look like Cleveland Jr. from the Cleveland show?
I can see that, yeah. Editing on radio, though, is kind of odd because they can't bleep it, because then that would just be really like a pain in the ass to listen to, just a bunch of bleeps and stuff, especially for the songs, like a lot of rap songs. There's enough that you would have to bleep out. And,
like Nicki Minaj, like the Anaconda song, it was so big. And I don't know how, because she performed at one of those like music award shows, and they had to like, so many parts of the song were just like silent, and it was like her shaking her ass in front of everybody, which it's still cool. I'm not hating. I actually really like her, but it's like, why would you even perform a song like that? It's just like not for kids. It's about a guy's giant penis not liking skinny bitches. That's pretty much it. Like, why would you do that in an award show where there's a lot of kids watching as well?
Yeah, like you couldn't pick any of her other songs? Or
anything. Or maybe just have her shaking her ass the whole entire minute that the song's supposed to be playing.
Well, again, I find it weird what they do censor and what they don't censor on radio. And some songs they censor sometimes and some they don't. The first thing that popped in my head was Alice in Chains' Man in the Box. They say the word shit in that song twice. Sometimes when they play it on the radio, they censor it. Sometimes they don't. So I don't know if they're just being safe, if they're actually allowed to do it, because I've heard it at all times of the day. It's not like after 10 o'clock or something like that. So I don't know if they're risking getting fined by actually playing it during the day, or I'm not sure what the exact laws on that are, but I think it seems arbitrary to me how they decide what words to censor and when.
This is one that stands out to me as controversial in a lot of ways, and I really, I know that people are going to be like, yeah, you're kind of being a dick here, Tony, but to me, it doesn't seem like it's an issue. Came out a bunch of years ago, and I don't remember exactly when, but I think it was when I was in high school, so it's probably like 2004 or something like that. But the Black Eyed Peas song, Let's Get Retarded.
I don't remember that song.
I remember that. They redid it as Let's Get It Started.
Yeah, let's get it started in here. And it was all, let's get retarded, and you can't say retarded and stuff. And I know that bothers a lot of people, because they go, well, that's offensive. And it's, I argue the idea of no word is offensive. It's how you use the word. If you are making fun of a mentally challenged person and like pointing out somebody with Down syndrome and laughing at them, yeah, that's offensive. But if you use the word retarded, meaning retarded, That's the definition of the word. Like, we've become too politically correct, where I think that, I mean, we used to say retarded, then you can't say that anymore. Then you have to say mentally disabled. Oh, then it's offensive to say disabled. Then you have to say
differently abled.
Differently abled. And it's like, well, at what point are you just going to say nothing? Because everything's going to offend people. Like, Let's Get Retarded should not have been an offensive song.
No.
If I remember correctly, they're talking about getting drunk off their ass. And let's get so fucked up that our brains become retarded. Yeah. That's what retardation is.
Exactly.
You know, it's not, let's get retarded and start, like, you know, doing sound effects that make it sound like we have Down syndrome or something like that. Like, then, yeah, that would be an offensive as hell song. But let's get retarded in here. It's like, you know, if you're really going to get so butthurt about that, you don't need to listen to music.
Yeah.
Just put on your jazz. Oh, yeah, jazz is probably offensive because it's like, it doesn't follow a pattern and stuff. Put on Chopin. Just listen to that. Which that used to drive people nuts too. Mozart was considered, like, you know, horrible. But
Didn't Mozart have a retarded son though? Or was that Beethoven?
I don't know.
none of that rings a bell. Beethoven went deaf.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
apparently used to make music by feeling the vibrations on the floor, which is kind of cool.
When we're talking about editing songs for the radio, and you know, you kind of brought up the Black Eyed Peas there. There's a song, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I've heard it on the radio. I forget exactly when it came out. Not that long ago, within the last couple of years. It's by Big Shaun, and I heard it on the radio, and the title of it is I Don't F ** K with You. I Don't Fuck With You is what it's called. And
Imagine him trying to sing those lyrics. I don't F ** K with you.
well, that's how it's written every you know, and when you look it up. But I think that actually might be the title. But whatever, the lyrics, you know, if you look up the lyrics, I was thinking about pasting them for you guys here to see it. But it's basically every other word is a curse word. They have to edit every other single one out on the radio. So it's like, I don't with you, you little stupid with it, you. And it's like, serious. It sounds also it's like the song's breaking up. It's like, you know, sometimes when certain friends of ours have Skype calls that drop out, you know, half the words are gone. So at that point, it's like Swiss cheese. You know, if you have to edit out that much, same thing with the movies. Don't even put that song on the radio. If you really have to cut out that much, don't do it.
Wow, I'm looking at the lyrics now. You're right. Pre-hook. I don't fuck with you, you little stupid ass bitch. I ain't fucking with you, you little dumbass bitch. I ain't fucking with you. I got a million trillion things I'd rather fucking do than to be fucking with you, you little stupid ass.
Yeah, and that's the song.
I gotta admit, I kind of like this song though.
And I hear that one on the radio, and they have to censor it. It's like, so you see, like every third word they have to bleep out.
Yeah, at that point, you're not, you know, a musician really at this point. You know, a lot of rap songs in particular, they're just unnecessarily vulgar. You couldn't think of any other lyrics than fucking and bitch and ass.
Well, when I think about rap lyrics and censorship, the one big one that I remember was, and I know I'm a little older than some of you guys, but back in 1989, you remember Two Live Crew?
Which song in particular? Because I know Two Live
They
Crew.
had an album. They had an album. Their album was called As Nasty As They Wanna Be. It had Me So Horny. You remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was one of the songs on there. And
that one is pretty vulgar.
Even though it already had the parental advisory sticker on it, they thought that didn't go far enough, and there were actually arrests made based on people selling that record. So isn't that amazes me that they can, you know, they are selling that record in a store with explicit lyrics, and the person who was working at the store, I believe it was the person who worked at I don't know, I don't have the exact details on it, but somebody got in trouble legally because they sold that album, that rap album, that had explicit lyrics on it.
It is pretty bad. I mean, I actually have that in my music collection. I think it's a funny fucking song. Yeah. Like, you know, it takes you by surprise when he just flat out says, sitting at home with my dick on hard. And
That's awesome.
that one lyric, if I'm remembering correctly, it's "What's wrong with a quick nut?" Like it's just,
Yeah.
oh god, this is terrible kind of thing. But it's pretty bad. I mean, he says something about when I get your pussy busted or something, and like, so I can see why they would be like, oh, we shouldn't be hearing this and stuff, but you shouldn't be arrested for selling it.
No, you shouldn't be playing out on the radio. I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but I think that an adult should be able to go into a record store
Right.
and choose to buy that legally. And that, I mean, now it's not really an issue as much now, but yeah, in the late 80s, that actually was in the news that people were getting in trouble for that. And their follow-up album was called Banned in the USA, which referenced the whole controversy.
By the way, do you guys think that Reservoir Dogs is right about like a virgin? Did she
I
sneak one by?
I like that one theory.
Marilyn Manson is somebody who comes to mind with music and people complaining that things are not safe for work. I mean, not just like the style of his music, but if you just look at him, that's enough. But
He's scarier without any makeup, actually. Like that. Ugh.
oh, he looks like such a dork if he's not in Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Like, he's the type of guy you'd see in the subway and you just bump into him and be like, he's not going to do anything.
I'm a fan of a lot of Marilyn Manson stuff, especially the older stuff. I'm not a huge fan, but I've seen him in concert, 3 or 4 times, and it pushes the boundary as to what a lot of people consider offensive or distasteful, but it has its artistic purpose. So again, people being offended by that, and then of course the rumors start, that he's killing animals on stage and that he's, defecating on audience members and things like that. Rumors really start
concert.
flying. Yeah. So just the music though, just the album, putting aside the live performance, I have no problem with that. It could be much worse. I think as a discriminating adult, you should be able to choose if you want to have, whether or not it be satanic or, because he's not satanic, but lyrics that maybe make people think that. I don't think that really should be much of an issue. I don't understand why people, and a lot of it I think has to do with, just the conservative, traditional, quote unquote, traditional conservative values. And especially, a lot of people are hung up on being very conservative and religious. And while they see Marilyn Manson, he might say lyrics that don't agree with their religious perspective. That's fine. Maybe he says something that's against my beliefs. I don't think he should be kept from saying it. If somebody says something that I don't find tasteful or that I find offensive, it's my right as a consumer not to purchase their product. I'm not going to go to your concert. I'm not going to let my children listen to it. But I'm not saying that, my neighbor down the street should legally not be allowed to purchase that. That's ridiculous.
You could argue the same thing if you're on like the religious side of things, is that you don't want to listen to Christian rock if you're not Christian, or old like gospel songs or anything like that. What stands out to me though with Marilyn Manson, and it works well with this discussion that we're having, I don't think immediately like what he dressed up as. I don't think about like lyrics or anything like that in particular. I always think of this one movie. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about immediately. If you haven't, then it takes quite a bit of explaining, but it's called Bowling for Columbine.
Yes.
That movie is all about the Columbine shooting. It's a documentary, and whether or not you believe in the documentary style of finding your information, and was it Michael Moore?
Yes.
Michael Moore, yeah. That he could be like editing things and stuff. Okay, sure. Let's push all that aside for now. What stands out to me with Marilyn Manson is they were asking him about the whole situation and people blaming his music as a possible reason for why these kids might have shot other people and stuff.
Right.
And there's a great quote, the best quote in the entire movie, where they say, what would you, if you had a chance, what would you tell the kids if you could tell them something that, you know, could have got them to stop doing this or something like that? And he said, I wouldn't tell them anything. I would listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That right there, if Marilyn fucking Manson can have better parenting skills than the parents of these kids, should prove to you that whether he dresses up in a bodysuit and looks all weird and he's got makeup and he's talking about whatever the hell he's talking about and stuff like that, that it's art. And, you know, there's weird artwork out there. We mentioned on some podcast, I think it was the All Talk Show recently, that there's some artistic people that think that shoving a can of soup up your vagina is art and stuff like that. You know, Marilyn Manson's not putting this kind of stuff out there to try to warp people's minds.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought that his whole interview in that movie was the best part. Like, he's definitely somebody who, even though there were some people in the movie are saying, oh, you know, those boys, they would listen to Marilyn Manson and they would dress in black and that's why they did it. Like, he is just a performer, you know? It's the same thing when people are blaming somebody like Lady Gaga for overly sexualizing younger girls. Like, she's doing her thing. Yes, it's all about sex for her, but it's not really valid because there are so many other factors that go into it. And I don't know, like, I listen to heavy metal all the time. I adore it. I never killed an animal. Like, I don't even eat meat. So it's just, I'm not.
Animals taste amazing.
No, they don't. Stop it. Don't
Eat a chicken parm sandwich and then tell me.
Don't let your dog listen to what you're saying right now.
He'd probably be a little gamey.
He would probably eat you if you died.
That little Yorkie? Yeah, bring it.
But you know what? It's all about. I was actually thinking about how Charles Manson, his whole ideology about also culture and how there would be this huge racial war between the blacks and the whites, and that will cause the apocalypse. He got all his ideas from the Beatles' White Album, you know? So,
I'm pretty sure
so
if you
he
play
says.
background, backwards, it tells you all that stuff.
That's just something I was going to bring up, the backmasking.
But, I mean, if you believe in something, you will find evidence all around you that such thing exists. Like, people, like I was just saying when we're off, like the Illuminati situation. Like, there's so many videos online of people saying that Beyonce is a high-level witch, and that in her music videos you can see her doing all this Illuminati shit, and that she sold her soul to the devil. Like, if you believe in something, you can make everything around you be evidence to support your theories. And it's bottom line, it's just like art, you know? You're gonna feel what you're gonna feel depending on what you're already carrying inside you.
If you hear the ambulance in the background, that's the Illuminati coming after.
Yeah, that's here. Yeah, no, the Illuminati are gonna kill me tonight, actually, because I'm gonna be the next sacrifice.
Either that, or it's somebody who's played Grand Theft Auto and they stole an ambulance. You mentioned racial problems, though. That's something that is a huge issue when it comes to editing stuff for radio and everything.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear that? I don't know about if this is true or not. It would make sense to me if it completely was just rumor. The band Korn, does that really stand for what the rumor is?
I don't even know
What's
the rumor?
Heard.
I've always heard that the rumor was the KORN stand for keep on running and then the N-word.
I don't think that's true.
I've never had any reason to believe that was true. I mean, I don't know if Korn has any lyrics like that and stuff. They're far from Johnny Rebel.
You could probably, I'm sure somebody just made that up, because you could give me 10 different band names and I could come up with what it stands for that are far worse than that.
Right. Now the cops are coming after me for that. Why'd you figure that out?
It's all me. They're coming at me.
If you listen to a lot of older music, though, there's a lot of very, very racist things. Johnny Rebel I mentioned a second ago, and I can't remember some of the other alternative names that they use and stuff like that, but there's flat out just propaganda songs about hating black people and stuff. And I mean, I know that's a different era, so you can't excuse it because it's still awful.
Right.
But at least that's not happening as much now. But at the same time, there's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum where, people are kind of, I don't know, they're kind of like doing their own self a disservice. They're making their own stereotypes happen and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think what you said, talking about some of the racial stuff, I think with like you were talking before, a lot of it is context and intent. Is it intended to be malicious and hateful, or is it not? And one example I was thinking is the other day I was listening to Bob Dylan, and he has this song called "The Hurricane," which is about the boxer who was arrested and all that stuff. They actually made a movie about it. And, there's a certain N-word used in the song, and Bob Dylan doesn't use that hatefully. He's painting a picture of the scene and of what it was like, what it was like when this person, the subject of the song, was convicted. And if he wrote a song like that today, people would throw a fit. I wasn't alive when that originally came out, so I don't know the reaction back then, but I think the context and the intent is a huge part of it. You can't immediately say somebody's a racist because they used a certain word. It depends on the context, I think.
Right.
Same thing that we were arguing when it comes to cursing.
Exactly.
What do you guys think about substance abuse? I mean, they really glamorize it.
Yeah.
Whether it's talking about songs like Getting Tipsy or Blame It on the Alcohol.
Shots.
Yeah, even Bob Marley.
Yeah. Bob Marley, Peter
is,
Tosh.
The whole thing that he revolves around is just like, weed culture, huh? Like, Sean Kingston, I think, has a couple of songs that are just pretty much all about weed. And
Didn't he die in a skiing accident?
who?
Not that I...
Sean Kingston. Like a water skiing accident?
No, I think that was a rumor.
Yeah. That's a shame.
But, bands like Sublime, they have a song called Smoke Two Joints. And lots of other bands, like you said, Tipsy's another good one. Blame It on the Alcohol is another one.
Oh, Drew's here.
Love you, Drew. You know what I'm talking about. That's how it goes. So, I mean, that's kind of always, I don't want to say always been a thing, but that's more, I guess, mainstream and acceptable in music. As far as, the whole drug and alcohol culture, like going back to Bob Dylan, Rainy Day Women, and that, everybody must get stoned. That's a huge hit. They played it on the radio. I don't think it's offensive. I don't think it made people want to go out and try drugs.
Okay, that kind of answered the question. I was going to say, do you think that that's the same kind of thing? Because I would think, if anything, the music would have more of an effect than the video games and the movies would, because it kind of like popularizes it a little bit more. But at the same time, it's still not going to be the difference maker. If it's like a song like Blame It on the Alcohol, if you are going to play that in an environment where you're going to drink, you're in that environment because you wanted to drink anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a club and you're playing Tipsy, well, you're probably drinking in the club. And if they were playing Tipsy or they were playing It's Raining Men, like, you're not going to just start sleeping with men if you're, not into that. If you're just playing a song. If you're, in a club and you're drinking and they play any type of music, I mean, it's not just going to change your mind and flip a switch or something like that, but it does kind of, like, promote it.
I think that boils down to everything, watching a movie or playing a video game or listening to a song. Bottom line, they're not gonna make you do anything. They don't brainwash you.
Except for those
it's
Illuminati
all...
ones.
Wait, listen. I'm running from cars right now. They're all parked in front of my building, so let's not talk about that word.
Beyonce
but
had
it
the
kind
best
of...
brainwashing ever.
Oh yeah, no, they do. Or like even like crazy Scientology. The brainwashing they do. By the way, if you guys haven't seen the HBO documentary on it, it's really interesting. You all watch it. Crazy.
About Scientology music?
No, the documentary on Scientology. Well, they do actually.
General.
They do actually have music about like.
Oh God, I want to hear this. That's probably
They
terrible.
have a music video as well. It's in the documentary. It's really, really funny. Because you just see like a bunch of really awkward like white people just clapping and singing about finding themselves with Scientology, something like that. I even forgot what I was gonna say. See, it's so
About how it
sidetracked.
doesn't necessarily force you to do anything.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And if you're gonna blame,
It on the
I got drunk because I was listening to hip hop and they were talking about drinking a lot of champagne and getting buzzed or whatever. I mean, that's just like a cop out. I mean, really, like music, it's powerful, but it's not that powerful. It's not gonna brainwash you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question, Tony. Sorry, I'll interrupt. I want to ask you a question,
Yeah.
Tony. I know you're not a drinker. You don't really partake in the alcohol. Have you ever felt pressured to drink because of music that you've heard?
Not at all.
No, because you're a normal thinking person.
Exactly.
So
No.
I think it's a cop out saying that encourages that.
The only
And I
like-
can attest that because I'm not normal. I'm a not normal thinking person, and I don't drink as well. But I do listen to a lot of songs about drinking, and I don't drink, even though I'm not normal like Tony is.
That's a flattering compliment that I'm normal. Oddly enough, if you're gonna say if anything tilts more toward trying to be like kind of like a pressure thing to that, I would argue country music does.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, I'm not listening to it because I fucking hate it. It's so goddamn terrible. I can listen to. I don't like Korn, but I can listen to some of that stuff. I like a wide variety of music. I mean, if you put my stuff on shuffle, you're gonna listen to Beethoven, and then you're gonna listen to the Diet Coke commercial before the Batman VHS thing. And that is an amazing song. Just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. It doesn't make me want Diet Coke. It makes me want to watch Batman. But if anything, I think a lot of the culture when it comes to country music, it's very, very hard hitting on like, wouldn't it be great if we just got a beer? And I'm like, no.
I love the accent.
And you don't need to sing it with the twang either. Like, I could go on a whole diatribe about how the country music is terrible, but
Not a fan either.
That's something that like I see a lot of people. Of course, this is going to be stereotypical, so everybody's going to be like, "Oh, you're grouping everybody together." That's not necessarily the case. But I got to preface it by saying that rap culture tends to target toward black males a lot. Country music tends to target their demographic. Heavy metal is obviously not targeting Jewish 40-year-old mothers. Like, everybody has their own kind of thing like that. Country music, they kind of like not brainwash you, but like a lot of people are really hardcore into the culture, more so than a lot of the other things that I keep saying. Like, you can listen to hip hop and not identify with anything that's in hip hop, but a lot of country music people are really like getting into it, especially lately. And I keep seeing a lot of people that like they'll be like, reposting stuff, and it's like the whole save a horse, ride a cowboy, and it's like, well, if you want to argue that like the hip hop music is being sexist, well, that kind of is too.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the same kind of boat here, but that gets a pass, and I don't understand that. Is it because it's like so kind of dumb? It kind of seems like unoffensive, like it's a bunch of dim-witted people talking instead. Like,
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I don't really listen to it that much. I mean, I do know some of the songs you're referring to there. As far as it being more acceptable and why, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that.
people go nuts over hip-hop and rap and stuff, and people are like, oh, rap is crap and stuff like that. But then you listen to the country music, and it's telling you, okay, well, if the tipsy song is "Let's Get Drunk," and then you listen to a country music song and it's "Let's Get Drunk." They're both telling you, "Let's get drunk." "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy" is "Go bang these cowboys," and Anaconda is probably like, "Well, that guy's got a great dick. Let's go jump on that," and stuff like that. It's probably the same kind of thing, and I don't understand like what the difference is between why country music gets a pass.
I would say that a lot of people will believe it's more of like a race thing. I don't really think it is, but I could definitely see some people pointing that out, that, the majority of country singers are white. And then you have hip-hop, which, I mean, the heavy players are black. I don't think that it goes down to it, but I do believe that some people definitely see it like that.
I hate those people.
One
I
thing,
don't get it.
One thing that I think separates country and rap, though, is in general, I mean, sure, each song, each artist is different, but in general, country doesn't have as much violent lyrics as rap and hip hop. So maybe they're in people's mind, maybe they're combining, the drug and alcohol and sex references with the more violent aspects too in their mind, and they kind of push that all together. Mm-hmm. Because really, I can't think of any country music, because I don't know a lot of country music, but I can't think of a lot of it where they talk about graphic violence.
Yeah.
It's because they're too busy having sex with their brothers and sisters.
I think it's like mainly vengeance kind of thing. I just remember that Carrie Underwood song.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
She's like, he cheated on me, so I'm going to go burn his car or whatever.
Well, yeah, she ruined his car. She didn't, cut off his fingers or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you're admitting this in a song. Now we have evidence. You're getting arrested. Side note about that, I mentioned earlier, I don't like the twang. I actually like that song, but I have a jazz cover version of it. Oh. And I'm like, this is a great, fundamentally good song if it weren't for that twang.
Though, if it wasn't for country music, we wouldn't have Taylor Swift, and I love that bird.
Oh my God, Shaun, what?
Not a fan.
No.
She's so sexy.
Ew.
No, she's cute, but I mean, how often does she need to bitch and complain about her boyfriends?
I know, yeah. And
I wouldn't mind if she wrote a song about me.
Oh my God, Shaun, no. Don't do
I mean,
that.
putting aside her looks, just talking about her music, I think she's probably one of the best pop artists out there. I'm not a huge fan, but I appreciate what she does because I'm a sucker for pop music. I've never bought any of her music or never seen her in concert or anything. I have no desire to. But I can appreciate why people are so into her.
I would shake it off all over. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
Oh, no.
I wish I knew more of her songs to make a joke, but I don't. Just, that guy cheated on me, I don't like that guy, and stuff like that.
I hate her.
Any other topics for music that come up with not safe for work? I mean, we touched on Let's Get Retarded, Me So Horny, Marilyn Manson, a wide variety of things here, vulgarity, rap.
Oh, one thing that I did want to bring up is kind of some of the other topics we're talking about too, how it's evolved over the years. We did talk about, in the 80s as far as like Two Live Crew and stuff, but going back to the 50s and 60s, there was the FBI investigated the Kingsmen. There was a song they had, Louie Louie, Louie Louie, because the lyrics it was a huge hit, but the lyrics were really hard to understand. And so they had paid people, law enforcement, to go over this to see if there was, suggestive things. And if you actually look it up, you can find different people interpreting it with very sexually suggestive interpretations of the lyrics. And of course, the band denies it. They gave their own, list of the lyrics, but I thought it was funny because this is not a new thing. This isn't even going back to the 80s. This is going back way before that. Yeah. So it's something that's changed over the years.
Isn't there a song that if you play it backwards they go on about the devil? Isn't it like Stairway to Heaven or some shit?
They claim
when you
that
play any song backward, you hear,
Yeah.
and people are like, I think that says that Satan wants me to kill people and rub eggs all over my face.
It's like people seeing Jesus in an oil stain, It's what you want to believe.
Now, seeing Jesus in a tortilla.
That's special.
It's It's that God taco. I want to eat that.
That sounded so wrong. I love
God
it.
taco?
Yes.
That's like the best taco possible.
Sacrilegious.
That'd be like the one thing at Taco Bell that you would eat and not have to shit your brains out afterward.
Oh yeah. Well.
Damn, now I'm hungry.
Let's take a break and get a bite to eat.
Let's get some God tacos.
Oh, donuts.
I do have donuts. All right, so music. That's rounds up music and tacos and all that kind of stuff. We have one more topic to talk about, and it's not donuts, unfortunately. But that's cosplay and some miscellaneous kind of stuff with that. It's going to get into a weird situation with one part of this, I know for sure, but stay tuned for that next part. That is going to be the last part of this episode, and we will see you there.